Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining Phil and I today. Phil and I co-instruct the ConvertKit course on Udemy. And I talked to Phil. I thought that we would talk today about the best day of the week to send out your email messages. I came across some interesting data, and I wanted to show that to you today. So I'm going to bring some of that on the screen here in just a few moments. So let me find out where I'm at here. Got to multitask with this. So first of all, here's what I wanted to show. This is kind of difficult doing, like jumping around screens and all of that.
Well, yeah, BeLive just pushed up some stuff. So
You did what?
Too, so there's no echo.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should put on a headset too. It's hot in here, but so if you're watching us, let's see. Can you still hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
See, now we got cut off because of me and technology. Hold on just a second. Thanks, everyone.
I can hear you. I think people can hear you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
What? You can't hear me?
See, this is what happens with a live broadcast.
Technical difficulty.
So you can hear me, yes?
I can hear you.
Let me unplug. Hold on just a second. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes. It's
okay.
a connection in there. All right, good. I can hear you okay with the headphones on.
Okay, cool.
Okay, good. Thanks, everyone. So I want to move the screen here, but, oh, okay, I see. It shows, see, the thing is that it shows because you're using a browser, it shows the BeLive tab in Chrome, and it's going to show it when I start broadcasting. So I guess the best way to do this would be to have two separate browsers. So we're going to get started talking about best times to send email marketing. Phil does this to his video school online following, and also his students both on Udemy and on his own platform. And I run online course coupons and free course daily, and I also teach on Udemy, so I also send out quite a bit of email. And we both use ConvertKit for that, and we teach a course on ConvertKit. And we're actually going to be integrating this broadcast into our ConvertKit course, so those students who aren't able to watch the broadcast live will be able to watch it in the course. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and pull up the agenda. So we're looking at 10 studies that I came across, and I'm trying to get this to scroll here. Oh, where did it go? Okay, there. Can you see that? Might not be updating. So we're going to be talking about 10 studies, what they say about the best times to send email marketing. And this is a study that was done in 2016 by MailChimp, GetResponse, HubSpot, and other providers that are out there. And ConvertKit, in their blog, actually, if you go to convertkit.com, and I believe it's /blog, they have some of their own stuff that they've looked at as far as subject lines and things like that, which we'll be talking about today too. So let's go ahead and get started with some data.
I don't think the data is up. Do you have a slideshow? I'm just monitoring the live feed.
I have, like, what I have is the bars that are coming across, and then I'm going to switch over to some web pages. It's not updating for me, though. Is it updating for you?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I'll make sure that BeLive TV knows that there's some glitches in it. So, so I'm going to bring up.
Oh, there we go.
There. So now, what are you seeing on the screen on your end? Are you seeing ConvertKit?
On my BeLive sorry everyone who's watching this, we're figuring this out, but on my Be Live, I see your screen. And I see that on the live stream it's up, but it's really small. So maybe I think you turn off our videos. That might help.
Let's see. Do I have to throw us out of the broadcast in order to show it? No.
See those screen options?
Oh yeah, I see those.
Oh yeah, I don't know which one is.
There's that.
If you hover over on our images, can you turn off the video and the audio, or just not the audio, just the video?
I have to throw us back out into the lobby, I think, in order for it to be. So, and then they won't be able to. I don't think that they would be able to hear, right? Both of us. Yeah. No, I don't think that. See, there's that. That's a little larger right there. So let's go with that, because I'm going to be, and we'll be talking about this, and we'll also give them links to this documentation.
Yeah. Watching full screen.
Yeah, and then I'll figure this out at some point. Okay, so we're looking at ConvertKit, right? Is that what you're seeing? Because I can't see. I can't see. That's what I don't like about this. So I like the fact that we can broadcast live, but need to figure this out a little bit differently. But what we're looking at is ConvertKit, and this is what you would see when you log into ConvertKit. You would see your subscribers, and then you have things called sequences and broadcasts, which give you data on open rates and also click-through rates. And Phil, I think that you've talked about, like, since you've been using ConvertKit, that you've seen over MailChimp, you've seen your open rates and your click-through rates go up. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. And I love how ConvertKit gives us the A/B testing now of the headline or the subject line, because I can test two different subject lines and they send them both out, and they pick which one is working the best and they choose that one. So I feel like that's really helped me increase my open rate for my broadcasts. And then same with the sequences, just, just in some of this, I probably could have gotten the data before, and you probably can no matter what email service you're using. But it just takes looking at it and seeing, okay, this is how many people are actually opening this email. And if there's an email that's not being opened, why is it not being opened? But I think the main thing for me has been focusing my email list and my sequences for the target audience. So now my main email sequence on my different sites, for example, with onlinecoursemasters.com, that's getting an open rate of 60% or so, 60, 70% on average, which is crazy high, I feel like. And that's just because it's super targeted.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because what I wanted to show the viewers is that I found this article here as new as 2017. Now, it says it's for the UK, but I would imagine that these open rates are probably the same pretty much, for the US and around the world. It's looking at different industries, and before we came on, I was actually sorting it, and believe it or not, the average open rate is between 15.22% and 28.4%, or 28.46%, which means that you're doing wonderful. And I sorted it, and hobbies actually falls at the top for the highest open rate there at 28.46%, and also has the highest click-through rate, which click-through rates, so first of all, you've got to get somebody to open your email with all of the email that we have. We know we get a lot of it in our inboxes. And then once you have that open, so Phil was saying his open rate was 60%, then out of that 60%, so that means out of 100, he's got 60 subscribers opening up that message. And then he's got to write a really well copy in order to get that click-through rate up. And it's between 1.25% and 5.13% out of those 60, which would be the average. So I don't know what your average is, but I mine fluctuates.
Yeah, I'm looking at my different accounts because that was with my online course masters account, and then I have one for video school online. Those open rates are a little bit lower, still averaging around 40%, 40% for the different sequences. And then the click between 3 and 10%, I would say, is typical. But that's, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it that, you know, email marketing has been known to be the highest converting method of communication, but these are just, you know, when you're talking about an average click-through rate of what, 5 to 5% or so, that's not even people purchasing, that's just people clicking through.
Sure.
So we're really needing to grow our email list into the thousands before we can, you know, start making a decent amount of money, unless it's super targeted. You know, and we've talked about that before. It's more about the quality than the quantity. And if I'll go back to my online course masters account too, just to see what their click-through rate is.
Yeah,
but a lot of these sequences I'm talking about are more just educational too. It's like I'm not like selling that much in these sequences. My broadcast where I am promoting a new course typically does have a lower open rate and click-through rate.
Yeah, I noticed like when I sent this out, because I have an email list with online instructors, and the response rate wasn't that high. And part of that is my fault, because one of the things that you have to remember is that once you start getting people onto an email list, that you want to make sure that you engage with them. If you don't, and you're not sending out on a regular frequency that they kind of expect to see messages from you, then they're just going to start ignoring your messages because they're not going to know who you are. And so that's like one of the things that I've been doing is like with Free Course Daily is I brand it before I put the subject line. And I'm going to show a list that I found with some subject lines too, which is, you know, again, like we said, you've got to get people to open. And then let me see if I can go here to right there. So once you get people to open, in order to get those open rates, there's all kinds of different things that you have to look at. And today we're going to look at the best time. And let me jump back over here to Be Live. See, I guess like that's what I don't understand is that it switches to our broadcasts here, and there's no way for me to shut that off before I come back over to switch what I want to talk about. So, hey, we're learning something new as we go along. Like this is I've used Be Live TV before, but this is the talk show format, which allows you to share your screen, which if you're an instructor on Udemy is a great tool to use to get to your audience, but maybe you'll figure it out a little bit better than I do. So what I wanted to bring up is I wanted to ask those who are watching and those who are watching later what they think is the best time of the day to send email messages. And I'm going to jump back over here to the study. So these are 10 studies that we came across. Bill, what do you think is the best time of the week? I know that you kind of, well, you looked at it. So like before that, like what were you thinking like before you?
I think I was assuming that Tuesdays and Thursdays, you know, and probably in the morning. And this is just like based off my assumption is that like in the morning after people get to work though, like, because I figure people get to work, they have a bunch of emails from the previous night or day. And then, so like, wait till they get through those emails and then send them a new one. Like, you want to send it to them when their email inbox is kind of cleared out or something like that. That's my assumption.
When they're having that second cup of coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I saw a video from the founders of Udemy, and they had some kind of conference that they were at, and I had heard that Monday at 1 p.m. was kind of the optimal time or whatever, but I was surprised. So as I'm scrolling through this right here, so these 10 studies, what they said is that actually Phil is right, that it is Tuesday is the number one day to send emails according to the majority of the data from the studies. And again, I'm going to have a link to this. I'll put it in my group. Phil can share it to his group, depending on where you're coming across this broadcast, because we have people who watch live and you have people who watch later. And then Thursday, if you're going to send 2 emails, then like Phil was saying, Thursday would be your second day. But surprisingly, while no single study showed that Wednesday was the most popular, it did come in second several times. So those 3 days. And Phil, why do you think it is like those 3 days? What would be your thoughts on that?
Well, I have an interesting thought about this, but I'll get back to that. But
okay.
To answer your question, I'm just guessing again because, weekends we're automatically kind of ruling out because most people don't check their emails as much on the weekends. And then Monday, people are getting back to work, so they're super busy, don't have time to open all these other emails from people. And then Friday, same thing. Everyone's getting ready for the weekend. So that's why I'm guessing that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are probably the best days. But what was interesting about this study, and it's a great study because it kind of aggregates a bunch of different studies into one. Mm-hmm. What's interesting, though, is that it's a lot about the volume of emails sent. They talk about the click rate, too, which is important to go over. But part of these studies, it just seemed like, well, Tuesday and Thursday are the best because they're sending more emails those days. And they even talk about how on the weekends, one of the studies, someone said that Saturdays and Sundays actually had the highest open and click rates. Yeah. And they were saying because not as many people send emails on the weekends, so there's not as much competition, basically. So this study was really interesting. I feel like at the end of the day, it's a good rule of thumb that Tuesdays and Thursdays and then next Wednesdays are the best days to send. But I don't think it rules out trying on a weekend because it depends on who your audience is. I know, actually, I'm not sure if Side Hustle Nation sends out emails on Sundays, but I know Side Hustle Nation, Nick Loper does some social media stuff on Saturdays and Sunday that gets a lot of attention. And so if your audience is someone that, maybe your niche is, online course creators who are working outside of a normal job, and perhaps maybe the evenings and the weekends might be a better time to send.
Yeah, and this might change as more and more people are using mobile and, they're out doing something on the weekend and a message comes in. And then same thing like with a Sunday night, because typically, Sunday people settle into things like preparing for the workday and doing laundry or whatever. And so they might be, doing social media or something like that. So yeah, it can change. And then I was like looking at here as I was scrolling down a little further that MailChimp and GetResponse actually found that Thursdays had the highest open rate. And when I think of MailChimp, I think of them as one of the larger services, because ConvertKit is, about, I think, 3 years old now and growing quickly. But MailChimp and some of those others tend to dominate as far as the amount of people using their services. So
yeah, and this article, I think the important thing to look at is the studies that talk about open rate versus opens, because there's one that it's just opens, and who knows what that means. That could just mean you're sending more emails. But with the open rate, I see this. Yeah, MailChimp says it peaks on Thursday, which is interesting because I don't know. They don't really go into the details of why this is in this article, but I'm just guessing again that maybe Thursday people are still in the mindset of business emails, but it's later in the week, so they have more time to go through their inbox rather than even on Tuesday. So yeah, I mean, what about the time? Because I know did you want to talk about the time? They talk about the time to send, which depends, of course, on where your time zone is.
Yeah, I wanted to, so we'll just talk real quick about that. The best time, And Phil is absolutely right about the time zone, like where you're located. Not only that, but you've got to figure out kind of where your subscribers. I'm going to jump back over here.
Yeah, exactly. More so where your target audience is.
Yeah, exactly, where they live. Because, I mean, we've got it. There's, Facebook and stuff like that. I've got people all over the world that follow my list. And that's something that ConvertKit doesn't do. And I'm hoping that they get. MailChimp has the ability to send it by time zone. So what is the best time? So, Phil, what do you think the best time is to send email?
I was going to say like around 10 a.m. Like I think what I was assuming before, and maybe I'm a little biased because I did read this, but I was kind of thinking before I read this that around 10 o'clock is probably the best time. But they have these numbers, and what surprised me too was the evening time, like 8 p.m. was their second most popular time. I never sent emails at that time, so that surprised me.
Well, that might be like something that you might want to do is test that now and see what kind of response that you get, maybe try a Sunday at 8 p.m. and see what happens. And that's the thing about this too, is that you really have to kind of just experiment, because with ConvertKit, I've got a lot of data now because I've been using it for well over a year, and same with Phil. And so now we can look at our data and kind of gauge to see. Now, see, that would be nice if ConvertKit actually had that ability to pull up a graph for us so that we could kind of see, like, with over the past year, like what our stats are. So maybe I'll send that in and recommend that. But yeah, so 2 p.m. is also another time that they talk about. Because it's probably like around the time that somebody in a typical 9-to-5 job takes their last break of the day. And then 6 a.m. In bed. I do that with my mobile phone. I lay in bed before I get up. My friend used to call it like nesting time. So I lay there in bed and check my email. So again, here's a graphic, a really cool graphic, and we'll include that again. If you're watching this in our course, we'll include it in the lecture notes. If not, if you're watching it somewhere else, we'll make sure that we have that. And then just before we wrap it up, we wanted to talk about some subject lines. So I want to scroll down here to where they have that, and then we'll wrap it up for the broadcast.
Well, yeah, and just wrap one more thought about the day and time. I think I'm going to test out maybe like a Sunday email, and not make it a sales email at all, but more a tutorial, training, some sort of educational, entertainment type email, because you think like people used to read the Sunday paper, and so Sunday might be a perfect time to send an educational article while people are just relaxing and wanting to take a little bit more time to read an entire email, not just like a quick pitch or something super short.
Exactly. I think that's a great idea. Something like that would be information to help somebody start their week off, maybe to accomplish something. I know, like in your group that you have on Mondays, you ask the members like what their goals are for the week, and so give them like some kind of actionable item or something like that to develop a skill or something for that week.
Yeah, one email I always send monthly to my online course masters group is my income report, and that's a really long email, and I always send it on like a Tuesday or a Thursday. I actually just sent it out today, but I think I'll try sending that out on a Sunday, because who has time on a Tuesday to read that whole thing? So yeah, I'm going to test that out and see. Great.
So let's talk really quick about some email subject lines. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what are some of the subject lines that you've used that seem to work well?
Let me actually bring some of those up. But I think for me, I keep hearing this thing about using the word "you" in like sales copy, if you're like talking about to a person, using that word "you." So sometimes I try to use "you" or "your" in the subject line. I think like testing out, let me just look at like
Sure. What about their name? I've heard that sometimes by using a name, it personalizes the email and it gets set individual to open that message.
Can you even do that? Like have someone's name in the subject line?
Yeah, you bet. With ConvertKit, you can, and even with MailChimp, because you just use I guess they call it like a tag or whatever.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
First name. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So one interesting thing I found was I put out a free trial of my online course masterclass, and I sent it out to all 1,000 people on my online teachers list. And I had 2 subject lines. One was start a free trial of the masterclass, and one was validate your course idea in 5 days. And they both had pretty high open rates, 37 and 44, but the one that was better was validate your course idea in 5 days. And so that was an action. It was like an actionable title, more specific than just start a free trial. I think there's so many free trials and courses and things out right now that I think it did better when it was more specific, like validate your course idea. So that's just one example. So having more actionable titles in there. And I use the word your in that example too, compared to the other one. I see in this list, the 19 email subject lines that will get more opens. A lot of them have the name or the company name in there. That's pretty good.
Awesome. And let's see, hold on just a second. Let me jump back to the...
One other thing that I did for my income report, now that I can test, when I actually put the monthly income in the subject, that got 10% higher open rate than just Phil's income report. Which makes sense.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing about the A/B testing with ConvertKit, that I've been using it and testing different subject lines. Would you like 5 free photography courses or something like that? And changing it up. And with what I'm looking at here is how to make subject that will, and then the benefit. And then a lot of times 21 plus ways are, I'll use 5 free courses or 21 free courses for online instructors, things like that in the subject line, so that people are interested in knowing I'm going to get 21 free courses or something like that.
Yeah, I think having the numbers in there really, it's kind of like headers for blog articles. Those lists do tend to work pretty well, and having the benefit that the person will get for actually opening that email.
Yep. All right. So we have maybe just about a minute left. What would you like to say before we take off for the day?
Well, I think at the end of the day, a lot of it is practice, testing out your audience. For me, a lot of my audience is in the United States. One thing that they mentioned here, one last thing, was talking about if your audience is mostly in the US, definitely base it off of Eastern time. And that's something that I don't really do often, because I didn't realize that 50% of the United States is in the Eastern time zone, or at least the population is in the Eastern time zone. I just never even thought about that.
So, you thought they were all in California.
Yeah, I thought everyone was in California. No one else matters. But yeah, so I'm sending my emails at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays, thinking that's the best time, but I should actually be sending them at 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah,
that's true. I think the middle of the country or something like that is around just around the Mississippi River. It's moving. The population base keeps moving.
Yeah.
The West is booming, but still a majority are on East Coast time. And I always think about that too. When I do even a broadcast like this, if you did a broadcast here in Idaho, which is just an hour ahead of you at 8 p.m., it would be 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then, like, what about the rest of the world too? It's like you got to make sure that it kind of falls and kind of cover, like we said, your audience, because you might not necessarily have an audience in the Eastern time zone. They might be in the UK and Europe or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it would be awesome. I don't think ConvertKit can do this, but if you could, like, do any of these services allow you to send depending on the location?
Yeah, you bet. MailChimp did that. It does that. And I think the other ones do that. And that's something that I think ConvertKit users are asking for. And I think that it's coming.
Cool.
So it'll be a feature that they're working on. So great. If you guys are watching this somewhere else, check out our ConvertKit course. If you have email marketing questions, feel free to ask either Phil or I. You can find Phil at Video School Online, and you can listen to his podcast, which has a lot of great information. And I am at DennisJSmith.com. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Bye, guys. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you, Phil. Bye-bye.